perfect timing to be talking about number one, which is safety on the water. And that key is the PFD and all the different types of PFDs that are available.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Hey, happy safe boating week from the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm so glad you're here. In honor of the week, I've got a special guest lined up for you. Today, I'm speaking with Vanessa Fors, who's the recreational product line manager for Mustang Survival. If you're not familiar with Mustang, this is the company that manufactures life-saving personal flotation devices, or PFDs, work suits, dry suits, and other gear used by the United States Coast Guard. But they also have a recreational product line, and their PFDs are extremely innovative and top-notch. They also have apparel and dry bags. So if you don't have a PFD, or it's time to rearm your inflatable, or you need a rearming kit, which, by the way, it's always a good idea to keep a couple of those on hand, or anything else, in honor of National Safe Boating Week, Mustang has given listeners of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast a special coupon code for 20% off everything on their website at mustangsurvival.com now through May 30th, 2020. Plus, they're offering free shipping through May 31st. So that's an unbeatable deal. The code is Angie20, and that's just the number 20. That's Angie20. So feel free to use that, get you some products, and spread the word with your friends. All right, let's get into my conversation with Vanessa, and be sure and listen through to the end because she reveals some exciting news coming in 2021 that I think you in particular are really going to love. Vanessa Fors from Mustang Survival, welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. You're the recreation product line manager, and very happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I was kind of telling you offline a little bit. We've had a lot of incidents this season already. In fact, so I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. And I just saw an article come out by one of our local news stations that we've already had more boating fatalities this season than we did all of last year. So, and I know from my personal experience, I'm actually on a lake outside of Nashville, and I've kind of seen when the emergency crews pull up to the ramp and stuff. So I kind of know what's going on. And at least two of the situations off the top of my head definitely were directly related to improper life jacket or PFD usage. One was a jet skier who apparently either didn't have it on at all, or they had a PFD on, but it was not buckled, because they ended up drowning just outside of our no-wake zone. And they found the PFD just floating nearby. So it either came off, or they maybe had it sitting on the seat or something. And another incident, this was actually on a different lake nearby. He had a manual or I don't know. I don't have the details as to if it was a manual or automatic, but he was an angler. And he was drowned near where his bass boat was. He actually did have his inflatable on, but again, it could have been maybe one that was only manual, and so it didn't get pulled, or perhaps he didn't have it serviced properly, so it wasn't working as it should. So I think timing wise, and with it being National Safe Boating Week here in the United States, timing wise, it couldn't be more perfect to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right. I mean, with everything that's going on with COVID, we are finding that people are finding other ways to, get outside, but still be at a safe physical distance from each other. And the marine environments offer that perfect solution. So what we might be finding is a lot of perhaps first-time people getting onto paddle boards or trying out kayak fishing or fishing or, borrowing someone's boat, or we don't know. But, I mean, I can certainly speak for myself. Even I'm looking out the window and she's, if I could just get out on a paddle board. So interestingly, I'm also in the market for my first paddle board in this time when we are, we're forced to stay physically distant from each other. So perfect timing to be talking about number one, which is safety on the water. And that key is the PFD and all the different types of PFDs that are available.
Yeah, that's a great point. That it's probably a lot of people that are getting out for the first time, not experienced, not educated in, safety and things like that. They're just so excited to get outside and get on the water that, they may be overlooking some of that. And, the water, it's a beautiful, peaceful place to be, but it can turn very dangerous very quickly. Could you tell us a little bit about the background of Mustang survival? Like how long has it been around?
Mustang survival has been around since the 1960s. So we have an over 50-year history of making flotation devices and keeping people safe on the water. First product was the floater coat. And I have to say, I mean, that product doesn't look much different today than it did back then, in the early 70s. But from there, we got a lot of contracts with the military and the government, and really ended up being an engineering and innovation firm for the first bit. A lot of innovation came from partnering with those types of contracts. And we really innovated a lot in the PFD and the inflatables area as the time went on. And another space that we ended up having a lot of history in is keeping people dry. So a lot of experience making dry suits for the military. And what's been great about that is just taking that experience from making dry suits for the military and bringing it now into the recreational everyday user arena.
So that's actually how I first became familiar with Mustang survival products. Is I was in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, which is basically the volunteer arm the general public can join and get trained. And so part of the training was learning about Mustang survival products, the cold weather suits and things like that would keep you safe in different conditions when you're out there having to work or doing patrols. And so if the Coast Guard is using it and the Coast Guard is the one that's approving PFDs and things like that, it's like, well, you must be the top of the line, And so as I got familiar with it and I'm into fishing and things like that, I'm going out on other people's boats, I start looking around and I notice so many people are wearing Mustang survival products. So that's, I kind of look at your company as like the gold standard when it comes to safety on the water in different conditions. And so I ended up buying one of the float suits that I learned about, a cold weather float suit when I was in the auxiliary. I thought this would be great because I do travel. I'm originally from Minnesota and I do travel up north and I go ice fishing from time to time. And I know that there's different ice fishing companies that make float suits. But I thought, this is going to be the best. So I wore it actually fishing up on Lake Superior it was like 20 below zero temps and I was perfectly warm. So, that was great to have that product.
Oh, I mean, that's what's so great about them is that even if you don't end up in the water, it just provides excellent warmth. That layer of foam, allows the heat from your body to circulate, which creates that warmth, because it's, it's creating that those air pockets, right? Mm-hmm. So, even if you're just, ice fishing, sitting there and you're not very mobile, you're still going to be quite warm with that layer of foam. So, I mean, one of the things like being part of the recreational team is, that is amazing. Like you said, like people are using it not just for commercial uses now, they're moving it into their recreation in the cold weather, Lake Superior. So one of the things I'd like to do in a couple of years is start to relook at that and go, well, how can we evolve it from that original 1970s design that works so well? And how can we just bring it to 21st century. So we'll see that. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that would be great. I remember one of the guys in the Coast Guard Auxiliary was telling me, if you do get the suit, if you do go in the water, it's much more effective because you guys have additional accessories that kind of go with it. I don't know if they're available to the general public or that was just through the Coast Guard, but boots and gloves and even a hood so that if you do go in, you're going to stay as dry and warm as possible until you can get out of that situation. So is that correct? Like, to be as effective as possible, those additional accessories help a great deal.
Yeah, and I think for example, that balaclava, right? Right now, it's not available on our e-com site, but definitely available through our public safety partners, So the other thing though on our website is that you can always find a dealer. So there's actually if you're looking at a product on our website and we're either sold out or you just want to be able to buy it locally, there is a little find a dealer button. And then, you can just type it in and find someone local to buy different products. One of the things is that right now, being at such an interesting time, perhaps a lot of local dealers might not be open, or they might be open, in different scenarios or, shorter working hours. But our e-com is still open. We have our warehouse in the States, and then we also have, so we have ability to ship out of the United States. And then we also have our warehouse in Canada as well to ship to our Canadian customers. And that's a way, we just wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to find us either at their local store, their local marine shop, fishing shop, or even just online. So
great. Well, and we have a special coupon code, and we'll mention this again, but as long as we're talking about the website, mustangsurvival.com, because I did mention it is National Safe Boater Week. You guys have set up a code for our listeners, 20% off, and it's Angie20. So I'm kind of honored. My name is the coupon code Angie20 at mustangsurvival.com, and that's good through May 30th. So I encourage anybody who's in need of a new PFD product, or I'm assuming it's good for anything on the site. So you also have different products like dry bags and things like that. So I encourage people to go check it out and put in an order. It's a great way to get a new PFD for the season, make sure you're ready to go when you get out. Speaking of that, because I did mention earlier that story about a local angler who had a manual or one of the inflatable ones, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't serviced properly. Do you have suggestions on how people should properly service those?
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, that's one of the things, your device, it's like any kind of, device. You just want to make sure that it's always in proper working order. And we advise people to check it once a year, at the beginning of your season, make sure that all your gear, as you're getting ready to put your boat in, what about your PFDs, make sure they're all in working order. So we're talking about inflatables in particular. Mm-hmm. And the main part of that is the CO2 cartridge, which has to be punctured in some way by a device. And there are lots of different kinds of devices out there that will help to puncture that CO2 cartridge, which will allow the air to quickly inflate the bladder, whichever bladder it is on whichever product. And those devices, those inflation devices, those can be either manually set off or automatically. And so it's important to know exactly which one you have, first of all, just to know what you're dealing with and to understand that when you're going out, and if you have a manual device, to understand that you're not going to put yourself in a situation where you could become unconscious or where you don't expect to be in full capacity to be able to pull your manual inflated device. First of all, that's the first thing, is knowing what you're dealing with. Is it your manual device or is it an automatic device? And so just to go back to the CO2 cartridge, that CO2 cartridge never does expire, but each inflator device or inflator company has their own limit. So it will usually be in the manual that when you purchase your product to give you a heads up on what that is. So the automatic devices that require a pill that when it gets wet is what sets it off. So those tend to be a 2-year time frame. And the reason for that is it's up to the manufacturer of that device, but you want to check on the pill itself, that little yellow circular bobbin device, and it will have it right on there when it's expired. If it's been exposed to moisture over a period of time, that could degrade and it could no longer be functional. So that 2-year time limit is important to keep that up to date. So just check it, open, inspect all the parts, make sure there's no rusting on any of the parts, make sure the pill or bobbin of that automatic device looks intact, and then you're good to go. And all devices usually have a red or green indicator window. So green means go, and that's your simple way to know. Red means have a look and inspect it and perhaps rearm that device.
Gotcha. That's great information to know. I mean, inflatables have become very, very popular, especially among anglers, because they're not as cumbersome. If you're fishing or boating in really hot conditions, they're not as warm as some of the, foam style life jackets. So that's great information. You made me think of something when you were talking about that, because I remember one time I was fishing a tournament and it was like pretty much raining all day, and my co-angler warned me. He said, you have to be careful and make sure you dry out your inflatable. Sometimes they can be set off just in rainy conditions. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. You have to take care to make sure that you don't, at the end of the day, if you don't just leave your automatic PFD sitting in the bottom of a boat, and if rain gets on it, because any kind of wetness or heavy moisture, a moist air is not going to set it off. A little bit of rain on top, that shouldn't set it off. But if it's submerged and it gets really wet, like if it kind of ends up in the bottom of a boat or something like that, yes, it could inadvertently set it off. And it just means that you have to rearm it, and that's not the intent. What Mustang Survival has done to help people get around that is we've partnered with a European company called Hamar to work with, we put their inflator devices into more of the premium range of our PFDs. So for Mustang Survival, we have the hydrostatic inflator systems. And what that means is that you're not in danger of a pill getting wet, being in the bottom of the boat. What is actually required with the Hamar inflator technology that we use in some of our products is that it actually requires water pressure. So it actually requires the device or the inflator piece to be submerged, and it takes about 4 inches of water before the pressure difference between outside and inside of that device actually allows a pin to unwind and puncture the hole. With those devices that are hydrostatic, the benefit is that yes, you can be in crazy offshore areas or a pouring rain and not have to worry about moisture getting in to a dissolvable bobbin style of automatic, and it allows people to have that peace of mind. The other thing, when we're talking about how often should you be resetting that or checking it, those Hamar inflators, they have a 5-year span. So as long as you are using it within the year that is actually printed on the cap, then which is before the last day of the year of that year printed, you're good to go. And it also has a very simple red and green indicator window as well to easily help you identify if your device is armed. So it's just another option out there for people if they're looking for automatic devices.
It's crazy to hear all this technology that goes into something like a PFD. That's amazing.
From billion-dollar ad budgets and arena naming rights to tens of thousands of retail locations, big wireless providers spend big to appear like they're your only option. How do they afford it all? That big bill you get at the end of every month. Mint Mobile had a different idea. Instead of brick and mortar overhead, Mint Mobile is online only. What does that mean for you? a whole lot of savings because wireless plans from Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You'll save enough that you can get a brand new rod and reel for the upcoming season. For anyone who just hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can even keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. By going online only and eliminating traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
And I recommend everybody, if you haven't already, go check yours now before you go out the next time and make sure it's in good working order. And in addition to that, it's always important, well, one, to make sure you've got the proper style for whatever it is you're going to be going out. I mean, I was looking on your website, like you have sailing specific style, life jackets or PFDs, kayak. So just make sure you have the proper style for whatever it is you're going to be doing. And then also that it fits properly. Do you have any suggestions on how to tell if you have a properly fitting one?
Yeah. Ultimately, you really want to ensure that the PFD is adjusted to its tightest spot, as long as you're comfortable and can breathe. Obviously, you don't want to feel totally restricted. You still want to be able to do your sport, but it does need to be snug. And the reason for that is when if you do end up in the water, you don't want that PFD to slip off over your head and whatnot. So by adjusting it across your waist or your chest, depending on where that adjustment is, you're sure to be safe, to make sure that it doesn't accidentally slide off.
Yeah, and that's especially important, well, for everybody, but with young kids as well. I think I've seen a lot of kids walking around and you can tell that it's way too big for them. It's going to slide off really easily. So you want to make sure that they have the right size. And then another thing too, a lot of them have those adjustable straps, and sometimes it can be dangerous to have those hanging down too far. So, I think it's good to always kind of make sure those are tucked in somehow so you don't get caught on anything that could be a dangerous situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those crotch straps are there as extra protection for the little ones. Yeah, you just snug it in nice and tight. And then if they do end up falling in, it's that extra protection. Just like on sailing PFDs, if they're out, even grown men and women are wearing those crotch straps on sailing PFDs and shore because they work. So they're there for a reason. So yeah, you want to use them.
Yep, that's what I tell people about the kill switch on a boat too. It's there for a reason, so you should use it.
Absolutely. Some of our PFDs do have a D-ring attached to it as well, so that you can attach it right to your PFD. And that's the thing, is that PFDs are meant to be worn, and they're only really work when they're worn. Isn't that right? So
yeah, totally. Well, I was watching a video today actually of our local law enforcement agency, the TWRA, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and they were talking about an incident where they were out on patrol, just your standard patrol. It wasn't any kind of crazy conditions or anything, and they were running down the lake in their center console, and they, of course, they're law enforcement, so they've got their PFDs on like they should, but one of them only had the waist style that goes around your waist, and then it was a manual as well. But they ended up, their prop hit a big log, and it totally capsized their boat like in an instant. And so you think about that, if they didn't have those on, there's no way they would have time to grab their flotation devices in that time frame, and he even had trouble finding his manual pole cord to inflate his, and so he ended up luckily his partner was close enough and his inflated properly, and they were able to get to shore together. But, that's just, things change so quickly, especially when you're running down a body of water in a boat, or kayak or anything like that, really.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because we have a story on our blog, on our website right now, about Hunter Bland. And Hunter tells the story of when he was 21 years old in college bass fishing competition, and he caught it all on tape where there was a lug nut or part of the steering that was a bit loose, and when they hit a wake, it made the boat turn in a 90-degree angle completely, and both him and his buddy flipped right out of the boat. It's pretty crazy to watch the video footage, but to your point, things on the water can happen in an instant, and there's no time to go and grab a PFD. Yeah. So it's just something that has to be on. It has to be armed and ready to go. In Hunter's case, his friend was wearing an automatic, and it went off immediately. And Hunter at the time was wearing a manual, but he, again, same thing. He was so shocked and so out of it. It was his friend who swam over to him, pulled his manual, and then they both were able to swim back to the boat and get on, but they were completely shook. So yeah, just knowing what conditions you're in, what sport you're going to be going into, to know and make a choice on whether you would need a manual or an automatic. So.
Yep. It's funny. I just watched that video today too, of Hunter, and yeah, he said, they checked over their boat and everything before they went out, everything checked out. So it's just one of those freak things that you can't possibly plan for. And, again, just reinforces the fact that you need to be safe and ready for those situations. So yeah, that's a crazy video to watch. I'm sure. Is the actual video on your blog, or is it just a story about it?
I think there's definitely, yeah, so there is. So there's a link to the video, and you can watch it right on our website as well.
Okay. We'll put a link to that in the show notes so people can go check that out for themselves. It is pretty crazy to see that happen. One of the things I wanted to bring up, so just this past week, we had Ashley Ray on our show, and she's up in Canada. She goes by She Loves to Fish, and I noticed that she's always wearing Mustang survival product. If somebody out there, maybe has a social media presence or some sort and wanted to be associated with Mustang, is that something they could reach out and find out how they could become like an ambassador or something with the company?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We want to from everybody. I mean, and it's not like ambassadors for us. They're partnerships, and they're really long term, and we really want to find the right people that we can partner with. And it's not about pushing product. Like, that's not it. It's about, we want people that can share their lifestyle and get people excited about being out in the water, and be storytellers that way. And I think that's what really excites us, is about finding people that are inspirational and and inspire other people to get out on the water and enjoy life. And we have our tagline, "Live Beyond Land." So what does that mean to them, and have them tell those stories? So yeah, people can reach out to us anytime. Yeah. We have an email, that customer service email, or the letter C, the letter X, team, so CX team at mustangsurvival.com. And of course, that they're always just going to push that email onto the right people in our company to start building those relationships and start getting to know people. So yeah, that would be amazing.
Awesome. I love that. Live Beyond Land. That's great. I'll share that as well. Is there anything new or something coming down the line that you can, probably a lot of it's top secret, but is there anything you can divulge, or anything that's new that's out now that you'd like to let listeners know about?
Oh, let's see. Yeah. So probably, the not so new product that is pretty innovative is the Chimera. And I feel like, probably a lot of people are starting to hear more about it. So that's the one piece that's really versatile. It's got 7 pounds of inherent foam buoyancy. It has lots of range of movement. And then you can pull about, it's like a 12-gram CO2 cylinder, and you can pull that, and it increases your buoyancy. So you automatically have like 20 pounds. So it's more than enough that you would need for like in water or inshore activities, whether it's kayak fishing, paddle boarding, sailing, even just fishing on a boat. Like it's been really great. It's a really versatile product. So that's been around. We last year introduced red as a new colorway. So that was out this year here. And then new for 2020 is a new harmonized inflatable PFD that comes in manual or automatic option, and we call it the MIT 70. So in Mustang Survival, we have had a product called MIT 100, and it's been pretty much our number one seller. It's just a great versatile piece. It's easy to rearm, easy to pack. But what we did with the MIT 70 is it's a lower buoyancy that we were able to do alongside with this new approval that came through with U.S. Coast Guard and in collaboration with Transport Canada. So having that harmonized, it just means that both sides of the border agree. And what that meant is that with this new approval, we were able, and I think what's going to happen is a lot of companies will come up with new, innovative products that allow us to have effective buoyancy that are more comfortable. So this MIT 70 just brings the buoyancy down to about 15.7, which allows you to have a little bit of a smaller chassis. We updated the fabric to a polyester, super soft, but it's got these really durable threads that go through it. And we were able to get that approved by the approving board, UL. And so it's just really soft, lighter weight, malleable. And so you're going to start to see kind of new products coming out that are more comfortable to wear. And that's the key. And that was one of the things that we're really excited about at Mustang Survival. If we can make a PFD lighter, softer, more comfortable to wear, people are going to want to wear it. And that's just going to keep people safe. And that would be a huge, huge win for us is if people literally forgot that they were wearing it. And I think this will happen with this new MIT 70. It's so lightweight, yet just it packs a punch with its 15.7 pounds of buoyancy. Like I believe people will be going into their car and forgetting that, to leave it at the boat because it's so lightweight. So that's what's new and exciting for this year. Now you wanted a bit of a sneak peek. So next year, so January 2021, you're going to start to see a whole new women's assortment of apparel.
Ooh, cool.
So yeah, so we're really excited about that. That's my sneak peek into that. And what we're doing is we've got a dry suit that made just for women. We've taken the women's form into consideration, and we've done the Callan jacket. We've done that for women. We've got a waterproof pant that is great for fishing. So it's going to be reinforced in the seat and the knee, tuck into your boots or over your boots. You can stitch it. So it's going to be a really great piece for just moving around the boat. And then as we're getting into, as we're looking forward into 2 years ahead, and that's the thing is that at Mustang Survival, it takes us a couple of years to go from our original, beginning concept all the way into delivering it to the market, around minimum 2 years. And in that time, there's a lot of testing that happens. So we're already looking forward into spring 22. So awesome. That's very exciting.
That is exciting. We love when, one of the main points of the show, just featuring women, adventurers and outdoors women is getting more companies to start, putting out women specific products because it's such a male dominated industry. So I love that Mustang's jumping on board and releasing a new apparel line for January. So that's really exciting. And that technology for that new PFD sounds absolutely amazing. I totally agree with you. If people aren't uncomfortable wearing it, they're going to wear it much more frequently. And also, they kind of look kind of cool nowadays too, You picture the big orange PFDs sometimes when you think of that, and it kind of looks a little dorky or whatever. But now we get more of these influencers out there, some pro anglers and things like that, always wearing their PFD. I think that's going to make a big impact on just the general public too.
I sure hope so. Yeah, that's my biggest wish. And it's so helpful to have, ambassadors and influencers to kind of push that message. And it also helps to have really great looking product too. So,
right.
One of the reasons why we're looking into women is that, especially in the sport of fishing, women participation is quickly getting close to 50-50. As it is with paddling, it's already 50-50. So it's really important to recognize that and make sure that if you have well-fitting product, it keeps you safer, as we know, with
right.
PFDs. So it should translate well into women's products. So we're excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all the great information and sharing about Mustang Survival. And again, I want to remind everybody to go to mustangsurvival.com. Look around, pick out your products, and use that coupon code Angie20 to get 20% off. But you got to do it quick. It's only good until May 30th. So hopefully you're one of those podcast listeners that listens on a regular basis and you hear the show and can take advantage of that discount. But thank you again for being on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Angie.
All right, don't delay. Head on over to mustangsurvival.com, do some shopping, and use that coupon code Angie20 at checkout. That's ANGIE20 at checkout to get 20% off. Plus, they have free shipping on everything on their website right now. But do it quick, because it only is good until May 30th. So once again, happy National Safe Boating Week, and stay safe out there, everyone.